I just don't even know how to handle you being so nice. Okay, hold on. Let
Give
me.
me vodka, chef.
Yeah, I always think I should be drinking when I'm doing this, but
You could be drinking.
It helps.
I'm not very good at doing art and drinking anymore. I used to back in the day, like get really stoned and draw for hours, and now I'm like, what?
The drinking art thing.
I can't do it either.
No.
Not my thing. Okay. So, hi everybody.
Hello.
Hi.
We're going to talk about color today, which, as I said, is one of my favorite classes. Hold on. Okay. That's on here. I'm having to do all the things. Just mind me. I will. Thank you, boss. Okay. I always have to move my little thing down here because it's always at the wrong spot. Give me a second. There we go. Life is so good now.
There we are.
We're going to go through a couple, we're going to go through color theory. This is something that I spend quite a bit of time on. It is a subject that I am a perpetual student on. Every time I think I know enough, I find out that I don't. And the reality with abstract work is that color is an essential, it's an essential relationship. You don't have much for people to use otherwise, right? Because we don't have representational things. So hold on. Stop being a baby. So, you know, I like to go to the very basics for people because it's always good to be reminded about the color wheel. And we're actually going to make a color wheel today as one of our exercises. We're actually going to make a couple. How many people here know what the color wheel even is? How many people can actually tell me what a complementary color is without looking at the color wheel? That's the kicker, right? Or what a tertiary color is without looking at the color wheel.
My students better know the answer to this question. That's all I have to say.
So, nobody's got any answers? Hello?
I used to know when I was in college studying art, but
Well, great. And I feel like this lesson will be well received.
I know you'd be shocked at all the color theory I've studied. And I can't answer the question.
Okay, that makes me feel better.
Well,
Okay.
the complementary color is the one that's opposited on the color wheel.
Right.
Oh, that
Yeah.
And why that matters to abstract art is
because it makes the other color pop.
it makes the other color look good. Also, your color choices and creating color palettes before you start your painting becomes an essential part of your process. You will screw up if you just let yourself have access to all of your paints. You will create mud, you will make it not look good. There has to be some sort of planning here. And so a lot of abstract artists actually do quite an extensive color practice. So as we know, primary colors, we like to call them origin colors. Our origin colors are blue, yellow, and red. When I am mixing paint, I don't use golden. I actually use Amsterdam. I like to use ultramarine blue for my blue. I like to use good old, I don't even know how to say it, naphthol, I don't know. Red, medium is really what it is. And then primary yellow as my colors. I have them out here because we're actually going to do some paint mixing today, as well as we're going to be making our own color wheel. I'm actually going to demo both in acrylic and watercolor because paint mixing for the two of them are a little different. So here's our primary colors. Secondary colors are green, purple, and orange. And then, of course, the tertiary colors are all of the in-betweens. The reality is that when we have access to a full language of color, we know that the tertiary colors become really important in how our secondary and primary colors are viewed. They do get left off a lot, and the kind of color wheel we're going to be looking at when we create two versions, we're going to be looking at this color wheel. So this is my favorite kind of color wheel to work with. I don't care if you use acrylics or watercolor for this. What I want you to do is the triangle in the middle, you're going to draw this, which is, it doesn't have to be perfect. I always start with the circle. Trust me, my circles are not perfect. Hold on, I gotta get a drawing utensil. Woo, woo. Do I help myself out? Okay. Sorry, folks. Okay. So we're gonna do a circle, which is the color circle. I will be very honest with you. I do this version of the color wheel about once in a while because I find it's it's more difficult, which is why I chose it, right? So I draw two circles, and then most importantly is going to be the triangle. Hold on again. I really set myself up well today. I'm sorry, everybody. It's been a big week. Sorry about this, everyone. Okay. So we're gonna draw the color wheel the way that it is. And then the middle ones, the triangle ones in the middle are our primaries. The reason that I use this one, let me get back to my life. The reason that I use this one is that sometimes I like to work off of different shades of the primary. And that is going to be what our second color wheel is. I'm also super loose and sloppy, so don't take judgment. Okay. Okay. I'm really not very specific about this, and you'll see that I don't add a lot of the in-between color gradients. We're going to kind of create a color gradient. I'm going to start with the acrylic one because acrylic doesn't get this way. Okay. So the second version of this, we're going to do the first version. We're going to use actual primary colors or as close to the primaries as you can get. And then the second version, what I'm going to ask of you is to try and do one that's a different shade. So what you're going to do is you're going to start with your red, either mixed with a little bit of white or a little bit of black. I'm going to go through it and do some of that for you so that you know exactly what's expected of you before we do this. I also have been known to do this with all my different kinds of paint because, we know that they all look different. Am I echoing? Hello?
No.
Okay.
Oh,
Echoing on my part, and I just need to make sure it does not sound like that to you guys because it's awful. I also, when I am working with acrylic paint and when I'm working with watercolor, I use two different water stations, one for my cool colors and one for my warm colors. Mainly because I'm super lazy and I like to reuse my brushes instead of fully cleaning them in between. So you'll see that I do that with these as well. Okay. Our primary colors. And what we're going to do, woo, almost lost that. So a little while ago, like I said, color is a big part of what I do. And I went through a phase of kind of really hollowing in on not that I want to mix my own colors. I actually know a lot of abstract artists that do, because it is your own language. It makes your work very much yours. I have one particular friend. It always amazes me that she can mix the same exact shades of her colors constantly instead of in large batches or whatnot, which I think is incredible. So I got myself a recipe book. This is 1,500 color recipes, which I wanted to learn how to do it correctly. And it comes with these two amazing color mixing guides, which you can't really see because they're see-through, which is really dumb. But the intention of them is that you can use the recipes exactly, because you can, the way that these grids are put out, you can create exactly the number of parts per whatever. You'll notice that the watercolor mixing guide, if you can see it, you probably can't, I'll take a picture and put it in our WhatsApp. The water mixing guide is a completely different setup, because the addition of the water makes it a little harder to know. Why do things like color mixing guides even matter to abstract artists? One of the reasons is you're going to eventually mix a color that you really like, and you're going to want to know how you did it. I'm the queen of not writing it down and then getting really frustrated. So in the WhatsApp app, you can see the two mixing grids. The one on the left is the acrylic one, and the one on the right is the watercolor one. You can see how very different their mixing is. So why does this matter? Well, not so much when we're mixing up orange or we're mixing up purple or green. Like, we know those colors, they're pretty easy. It's kind of half and half. But as you get into the tertiary colors, it becomes more and more important what the various ratios are going to be, if you care about that kind of thing. So I'm going to mix some orange. Like I said, orange is a color I'm super particular about. This is where, like, having the right ratio actually really matters to me. So I just moved the red over towards my yellow. This is the non-perfect way of doing it versus the way that they want you to do it on this, which is that you actually split out one part, and then a second one the same amount, and you mix it on this little grid here. I'm just looking for a good yellow or a good orange yellow.
Hey, Krista, you're very small, just so that you know that
There's nothing I can, like, getting closer, I don't think is our best. It's the same setup.
It's the share thing. So when you share something, it automatically goes big and you can't spotlight. You can't do two things.
But people need to be able to see the thing. So
yeah. That's okay.
Yeah.
I'm just letting you know.
Yeah. Well, what we can do is this. And what we can do is go back to this. Come on. We'll do that. It's not going to be, whoa. I got a little bit of a delay, don't I? Holy hecker. That's obnoxious. Okay. So we're mixing up some orange. And I don't use exact placement because I like to create more of a gradient. Okay. Orange is going to be somewhere in the middle of red and yellow. Okay. So I'm going to go through and mix my secondaries first, and then create a grid to make my tertiaries. Pretty basic exercise. It allows you, though, to really get like a good look at how your paints react. Like, this particular blue is always really hard. It's extra translucent, which isn't always good if you want consistency. Okay. Thanks for the heads up, Leah.
It's a thing. It's a weird quirk of the sharing option, which drives me crazy because you feel like you should be able to share and put up another screen.
A spotlight. Yeah, that would make sense.
You would think that would make sense.
Yeah. Well, we can give Zoom our feedback. I like how somebody laughed because they knew exactly how far that was going to get us. Okay, so now I'm going to make purple. Here's a confession of mine. I detest the color purple. My mother wore purple when I was a kid all of the time. Purple pants and purple shirts and purple shoes. And so purple is always what I call like, it's like the first color I'm gonna give up. Right? I'm just gonna be like, oh, I've mixed it, it's done. I hate it. It's never gonna be beautiful. It's always gonna look like poop. I've been working on it this year though, to try and make myself enjoy the purple a little bit more because, you know, purple does have its positive aspects. I just happen to have one particularly awful experience with purple. And we're going to mix the green, half blue and half yellow. I tend to add, I like to start with red or blue and then add the yellow. That's a hue and a shade thing because I like, you know, like we all have flavors that we like. I like certain kinds of colors. Green is another one that I like to be a little more yellow than blue. Like that gold green rather than the Kelly green. College issue of the U of O duck, which is a green. Okay. Start and then create your secondaries. Okay. We've got our secondaries. And what I do personally is that I then have my little pools of secondaries that I've made here. And I slowly start with the red going towards the green and mix colors. Well, how did I do this out of order? Holy hell. I did this out of order and I'm so sorry, everybody. Anyway, your yellow would go towards your green and so forth and so on. Clearly, I have had an exhausting day and I didn't even realize it. So our first exercise and what we're going to start with today is creating our own color wheel. Okay. So I'm going to share my screen again, and we're actually going to look at this color wheel, not the one that I made. And I want you guys to copy this, not me. Okay. If anybody has any questions during this time, I'm going to give you guys like 20 minutes to do this. I'm going to fix this one, because Lord Almighty. And then if you have any questions, just shout out your questions, and then we're going to build off of our color wheels. We're just going to start with the primary color wheel right now. If you finish your primary color wheels, let me know. If you have any questions, let me know. Okay? Okay. I'm going to assume no answer is the right answer. Oh, man. That's going to be hilarious. Hi, little dog, what you doing?
I have a question.
I have answers.
So earlier about the you can use too many colors and it gets muddy.
Yeah.
Is there a general rule of thumb? Like last class, I remember you asked us to choose like 2 cools and 1 warm.
You want to be really like mindful of their separateness. What I mean by that is, you know, if they dry in between use, you will be able to layer cool over warm or warm over cool. But if they're not fully dry, you're going to create mud. And it's been my experience that, you know, you can do a good part focusing on your warm colors first, fully let your painting dry, and then bring in, say, a cool color as an accent. Um, Flora Bowley is, she, you know, her process, she's another abstract painter that teaches a lot, and her process is like literally like tons of, you can use anything. Say we were doing warm colors, anything from yellow to purple, as long as you fully let it dry, and then you can use anything from, say, that green yellow to the blue purple as a different layer. You just have to train yourself to keep them separate.
And then if you don't let them dry, then it's okay to let warm colors bleed into warm colors or cool colors to bleed into cool colors?
You're just going to get extra shades in between. You're not going to create mud. I'm also going to say, you know what? I have had students in the past that like mud. They like the color mud. It has a place in the world. Just be intentional. The whole moving forward, what we're going to be working towards is intentional choices, so that you know, or you have a concept of what will happen, right? So you can use, and purple is kind of a mystery color. It's in between. You're going to find shades that feel very much like they belong on the warm color side, and you're going to find shades that very much feel like they belong on the cool color side. And that just has to do with the purple recipe and how the makeup and the different shades that they put into the actual color. I often will work several pieces and work in one temperature. You know, like, so I'll work on 4 paintings in one temperature, let it dry, and then bring in my second temperature.
Oh, I see.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That way I reduce the amount of times that mud happens. Not that mud is, I mean, with acrylic, you're gonna have, it's less hard to keep them separate. Watercolor has a little harder time because no matter what, activating water is going to activate the color in it. I actually often will do this exercise when I get like new water soluble pencils or something, so that I know how they mix together, what they look like when they mix together. I got so excited for today that I didn't put anything up, you know? Really solid choices.
Color wheel I've ever made in my
I actually made a really bad one last night. Like, I was testing out some new watercolor pencils that I have, and I just couldn't keep my stuff separated, and to the point that like my girlfriend was making fun of me this morning. I woke up still about my color wheel from last night, and she asked me, "Are you going to show Leah the color wheel that you made last night?" Like, as a joke of like judgment on my color wheel. And I was like, you know what? Sometimes things mix together and they don't look good. This is why we do these practices. You know, you got to know what your materials do. Oh, usually, and I was looking for it. I have this really beautiful color wheel, and I actually, what I like to do, you know, this comes back to that conversation about what you can mix together. I actually like to
Yeah.
split my color wheel in half. One page is only my warm colors, and one page is only my cool colors. And that way, like I
Mm.
feel like I get a better concept of how the colors go together. And we're going to do some exercises today, and we're going to start working towards developing our decision making around what colors we choose. I actually dated a very, very talented painter who had gone to a very impressive art school and was told in art school, this comes back to the same question, not to choose more than 3 colors per painting because the choices, they were getting too excited in their painting choices and they would just end up with every color on the painting,
Yeah.
and the painting, you know, would lose all composition. Um, they were a representational painter. They weren't a abstract painter. But that experience that they told me about, they stuck in my brain a lot. How can we choose more minimal color palettes that really express what we're trying to express here? Because what we're trying to express here, there is no vocabulary for it. There's no language for it. That's what makes it abstract painting both terrifying and exciting at the same time. Is, you know, it is entirely how we do it. Yeah, mine's a pretty loud color wheel too. Feel bad, but I got it all.
I was going to say that, Carista, the way you talk about layering a cool over a warm color once it dries, that is a lot of the theory that I use if you've taken a painting class with me, particularly in glazing. So
Yeah.
usually in glazing, we will start with a tone, a warm or a cool set of colors, and then glaze it a cool color just to give the painting a little bit of a vibration,
Yeah,
right? Because when they're dry and they layer on top of each other, they have a wonderful, there's a feeling of this going back and, forward and backward rather than,
right,
which is that it's the illusion of 3D.
right. Well, and you know, anybody who's seen my paintings in real life know that my paintings have a 3D aspect to them. That is the number one thing, like piece of feedback that I get from people who come to my shows when they come to my shows is that my paintings look like they're 3D. And I actually went to art school, but I went to art school for sculpture, which doesn't help at all for painting. I actually never took a single painting class when I was in art school. Um, but getting out of art school, I quickly learned, as most students of art do, you suddenly don't have access to the studios and the materials and the items and the things that I had access to in art school. And continuing to be a sculptor was financially not an option for me. So then I started painting. And once I started painting, I realized really quickly that I love painting. I love everything about painting. And I eventually kind of stepped entirely away from sculptures. Even now, I have the space and the ability and the tools to make sculptures, and I just don't feel compelled to go that direction. Uh, Leah, did you do a glazing class? Is that an oil thing?
It's oil and acrylic. You can do it with either one. So I would usually have people build a painting starting with 1 or 2 colors, a mono painting as a base, and then glaze over it with an opposite color, and then start building your painting on top of that. Start building the top colors on top of that. Sometimes it looks so fucking badass like that, you just stop right there. But
That's awesome.
yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot about, and I keep a lot of documentation of like various shades on top of each other, and the way that when say my favorite green gold goes over the purple, we know that green and purple look great together. People love that color combination. It's a really popular color combination, but I usually am more interested in that in between place where the translucency, which one, you know, which one's translucency makes more sense over the other ones. Well, purple
Right.
is often a darker paint. The green usually looks better on top. And I actually have like a folder that keeps all of those things. And now with iPhones, I just take a picture of a part of a painting that's particularly attractive and good. And then over time, I have just kind of got my own expression and language down to just the good parts rather than kind of the in-between parts that I didn't always keep.
I really like that about your practice, Chris. I follow that really closely.
Yeah, well, I mean, you know, I did that whole project on Lee Krasner, and her entire thing is about editing and the importance of editing. You know, we have to, when we start sourcing ourselves, especially as abstract artists, there's so many abstract artists out there and so many inspirations and so many people to follow. And while this class is going to go through and individually look at abstract artists in the future, you know, we still have to develop our own language. Color is a big part of our own language. We're going to have, you know, color palettes we like to use. We're going to have different directions we like to go. I also would love to encourage folks who find themselves using the same set of colors to do a painting and not allow yourself to use those colors. You know, there's a lot to be learned. Like I said, that joke about my purple. My early paintings do not have purple in them. I don't even think I owned purple. You know what I mean? Like, and I certainly wasn't mixing it. And over time, I've come to respect purple a little bit differently. I still am not the biggest fan of it, and there's certain shades I cannot live with. But you know, over time, I've learned that there's a place for purple. Purple and green look great together. They're friends. They like each other.
On the color wheel, is there a warm, cool, warm, cool? Warm, warm, gradually cool, I guess is the way it goes.
It starts, it's supposed to be that the right side is warm and the
Ah.
left side is cool.
Uh-huh.
Yellow and purple both come in shades that lean one direction or the other, meaning that purple has shades, especially if you get a quinacridone magenta, technically a purple, it's very much a cool or a warm purple because it's primarily red. And then you're going to get yourself like a more blue purple that is definitely a cool purple. So, you know, it kind of leans one way or the other, right? That's why I said I often, and I was looking for the photos because I took photos of them for a while. I was looking for the photos so that I could share them with you guys about my color wheels. They're only one half. It's really helpful, especially when I'm talking about these. I want to call them recipes, but they're kind of recipes for artwork. It's really helpful to have it separated out for yourself.
In my
Oh, I just found a
experience,
picture of.
it's-
Oh,
In my experience, it seems like there is, each of the primaries has a warm and a cool version, a warmer version and a cool version. There's yellows that are warmer, there's yellows that are cooler, there's blues that are warmer, there's blues that are cooler. There's reds that are warmer, there's a red that's cooler. So
right, but that gets more into like tone and hue than it
Yeah.
does perhaps, you know, temperature. And that is
proper cool.
why I said, you know, right. And obviously adding black to your colors, and I don't mean half and half black because it's not that. It's actually like I think it's a 1:5 ratio when you add black or white, totally changes the hue of your colors. Even if you took your red, obviously we all know that red mixed with white is pink, but and you added a little bit of white to it, this is where that second color wheel comes in. And this is where, when we talk about abstract art as a language, it becomes really important. You have to find the things that speak to you, that move something inside of you. And you may find that you, even when using warmer colors, tend to stick to the cooler tones. That's a voice thing. You know what I mean? And like I'm gonna, that's a voice thing. So it it's an intuitive process is what it is. Like Leah, I mean, you did all of those, the pieces that you showed at our gallery were all cool pieces, even though a lot of them were sepia toned. It was just the environment that they were in, I think. So I've started a second ring on my terrible you can see out here. And what I've done is I've created a corresponding position where I've added 1 part white, 4 parts of the original color. This is when I talk about a second color wheel. We're still following in the same order. We're still doing the purple, the red, the orange, the yellow, the green, the blue. But what we're doing is we're trying a different hue of it. You can even go a step further for yourself. And some people go inwards. I don't like to go inwards because I actually like to look at them in descending order. And then you can do a black ring as well. So when I talk about this exercising having that extra step, that's the extra step that I'm talking about. Does anybody have any questions on that? Because that's when it gets kind of hinky.
What should we do if we only have watercolors for the white?
You know, sometimes watercolors have white. My watercolor set has white. Your mixing guide, the way that yours is a little different is more water versus less water, right? So instead of thinking about it as black and white, what you're going to think about is pure watercolor versus washed down watercolor. So like when you create those gradients, you can find multiple tones in those gradients. I actually wasn't the biggest fan of watercolor for a really long time because I found it just didn't work for me. And it took me forcing myself to work with it every day before, again, falling into that category of not playing favorites, right? And making ourselves do hard things. While you guys are finishing those up, I want to talk a little bit about the psychology of color, because I got very lucky when not when I first started painting, but during my painting life, that I got married to a mental health therapist. And I know, it's funny. It's funny and not funny. Anyway, so I got enveloped into the community of mental health, right? And some of my first commissions were abstract painting suites for mental health offices. But the thing about mental health offices is that, I mean, we may not realize how much effort is put into by the therapist to make a office feel a very particular way, right? And I would have conversations as I was developing these color palettes for my clients about how they wanted their office to feel. Okay, that is where we talk about, that is one of the clearest ways that we talk about the language of color is that it does make people feel a certain way. So these are 2 hilarious color psychology things that I picked up of Pinterest. But what I do like about them, I like to compare and contrast them because they have different, one has what they would consider a positive and a negative version. and then one, it's just these ideas that people can get. Often I'll have a client come to me and say, I want to put a piece in my living room, and I want my living room to feel inviting, and I want it to feel comforting, and I want to feel relaxing when I'm in there, and I want people to feel wrapped up in my living room. That does not say anything about the colors that they want their abstract painting to be. And this is where, really looking at color psychology, and, green is considered to be a calming color. So when they tell you that they want a place that is restful and calming, you know that one of your colors for your color palette is probably going to be a green. I had somebody who wanted me to do a suite for their office where they wanted to feel powerful. They wanted to feel clear-headed and like they were making good decisions. And so, purple is a very powerful color. Again, even though I hate it, it symbolizes royalty, in nobility, and it's luxurious. I just did a release of ceramic cups with my partner this last weekend, and one of the particular cups was specifically around this idea of nobility, this idea of power. And the person who bought it was kind of the person I was thinking about when I made it. And so, color, the psychology of color becomes more important as you are determining where things are going to go, or if you're doing something specific like this. My question for people is always, do you agree with these psychological meanings that have been associated with colors when you look at these terms that they have associated with that? The one that I always think is hilarious to me is brown. I do not consider leadership and brown to be a color. Like an association. I don't look at brown and think warmth and friendliness. But maybe that's, that is where my personal language is coming into play here. I also think it's very interesting that my partner is super attracted to turquoise, which is about health and healing and tranquility. Because my partner probably doesn't fall into that category. Okay. This is my favorite thing when I'm looking at like starting work, or maybe I'm getting stuck and I don't have a particular subject in mind. Is I love to go on Pinterest and find these weird, and I have an app on my phone that does the same thing where you can take a photo and it will create a color palette for you. You can see that these color palettes are often balanced between warm and cool colors, and that they generally include a neutral or two. My rule of thumb, when you're starting and you're trying to make as good of abstract art as you can, is start with the 2-3 thing that I taught you, which is 2 of one temperature, a third color of a different temperature, and then try a neutral or 2 neutrals. You know what I mean? Because neutrals help you with in-between spaces between the starkness of one temperature and the starkness of another temperature. What is neutral though? That's a really important conversation. It's a shade of white, it's a shade of black, and I also put the romantics in there. So the romantics are like flesh tones, fall into neutrals, shades of cream and brown.
Would you call them romantics?
The romantics. And the reason I call them that is that I actually spent 7 years in apparel management before this, and fabric, that's what they refer to neutral colored fabric, is the romantics. So it's like those really beautiful, like light golds, or like pinky peaches, or, like lower, lighter siennas. And those colors are really important to have a good relationship with, because those colors in between your warm and your cools will make those 2 layers stand off of each other. So what I mean by that is we talk about that 3D aspect of a painting. We want our paintings to stand off the paper a little bit, and those romantics in between can help with that. They're often usually super translucent. You can water them down, whether you're using watercolors or whether you're using acrylics, and really create kind of a floating cohesive layer. So this is the exercise that we talked about in our first subject. I actually brought in my actual sketchbook that I did this in, because these color swatches that we're going to make are the second step to them is the most important step, which is we're still going to use the colors in our, our color wheel that we're making right now. And then we're going to make a list of experiences in our week. So this practice that this book came out of, one color a day, you start with a moment list. So I used to do this, at the beginning of the week. You're supposed to do this one a day. You're going to write down 10 moments from today. Okay. Places you've enjoyed visiting, things that you've previously thought you could never do, or ways that you can make the world. You're going to make these lists of feelings. So today, every day is a little different. I can see in some of these, I don't know if people remember last year when we had all the wildfires in Oregon, and it was really awful. So I have these swatches, and some of them are like Oregon's on fire. One of them is called Level 1, and it's a visual representation of what it means to have to be purifying the air in your living environment, because the level of smog outside is so heavy that you can't breathe it in. So you start this process by writing things down, and you want them to be the feelings around the moments, right? So it's like, I'm trying to think of my day, but my day has been insane. So my day's been insane. So it's been about a lot of hurrying, it's been a lot of high stress environment. I help a friend of mine during lunch rush in a food cart. I don't have to, but I really like him, and it's really hard some days. And today was the day that I helped him out. And it was 2 hours. 2 hours is nothing, but it was 2 hours of just heinous onslaught. If I was to start this practice based off of that concept, I know that my colors are going to be kind of harsher. They're going to be more brilliant. It's likely to be the, super red starting. And what you want to do is you want to create, these little color swatches. And I cannot encourage you enough, let your layers dry in between. I like to roll out like 10, at a time. Let them dry in between, and see if you can layer 3 colors to create a color experience that matches up with your concept of your moments today. So when you finish your color wheels and you have your representations of the color wheels, I want you to start your one color a day concept. You can see here that I often will actually blot up layers of the paint to create kind of a thinner layer, and then I can add a second color a little faster. So if I'm thinking more about my experience in the food cart today, mind you, I love my experience in the food cart. I love everybody that I work with in there. It just was really, really hot today and really stressful. So I probably go with another warm on top. And I mixed that nastiness. See, this is when we talk about mud. That orange that I just picked up was gross. Come on. I do want an orange because I want to light up my red from my experience today, and just kind of add a little lighter of a layer. And I'm going to let that one dry and or blot it up. Today I'm feeling the blotting, I guess. And then,
Can you bump that up so we can see that? Maybe pull the share list down so we can watch your painting? Or do you want people to see this? Make sure they see this.
it's really hard. I mean, like it's not. It's the end is the visual part. It's when
Got
it
it.
dries.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So no, I get it. I get what you're asking though. So I actually, this is not some of my best work, but these are all circles that I have done on this picture here. Let's see. I'm gonna do watercolor, but I'm gonna clean my brushes before I do watercolor. So I'm gonna come back in probably 3 minutes and I'll do the watercolor version of this and I'll pull my phone back. I'll pull it closer down and see if that helps. How's that sound, Leah?
Sounds perfect. Only because I like, it's really fun to watch you put something together.
Okay. Now let's see if we can rearrange my phone for y'all to see a little better. This is gonna be like professionals. You can zoom in. Oh, I always touch that one. I don't know that that looks any better is the concern.
It's okay. As long as you can take some pictures and send them over WhatsApp, that will be helpful.
It is hard to, see without, being able to be really close to it, right?
Right, yeah.
Here is my very fancy watercolor palette. This is organized in a way to help me with when we talk about temperature. So you can see here that these are my warm colors out here on the outside, and then on the inside is my cool colors. The two inside ones are cool colors, and the two outside ones are warm colors. That just helps me out a little bit, gives me a little bit more variance. I also use watercolors that are pre-mixed. So let me see. Okay. This gives me some better access to some of my shades than what I have going on. I'm going to do one layer of a couple. I'll take a picture and then I'll do a second layer. How's that sound?
Yes.
Get some
Perfect.
variants for you all in here so you can see what I'm talking about.
I'm just saying it's fun to watch your work. That's one of the fun things. Here.
I'm actually doing a live performance for Astoria Open Studios.
Oh, cool.
With a DJ and stuff. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. We'll see. I always laugh a little bit how different brands rename things. Like this is called Sunset, where it's clearly opera pink. I'm just like, just call it opera pink. It's what it is. Sunset. Oh, look at Tosh. I mean, that is a beautiful color wheel.
Isn't it gorgeous? It's like,
Yeah.
I'm not even showing mine now.
Show it, show it.
Okay, I'll show it.
Side.
It's just, I don't have much control over my brush.
So this is right. Well, for obvious reasons, Leslie, you're still getting your
Well, and isn't that the whole point of why you're here? Is
Yes, yes,
work on
you're
some
correct.
exercises that, oh
Need
yeah.
to get over that. Like, yeah, I have this funky yellow that has a lot of orange in it. So I kind of did a bunch of greens there.
Yeah. Well, and I think
love that.
that's the thing.
Oh,
It's
nice,
the
Marcel.
process. See?
Look at these. These are nice, you guys.
So I would love to talk about this. Like, this is what I talk about when I'm talking about language and, you know, the importance of how we're developing our own languages here, is that you can see, look, I'm fixing it, Leah.
Yes,
Aren't
thank you.
so excited?
I am.
cool.
I am.
You can see how different people interpret even something as simple as the color wheel.
Yeah.
It's like a
Exactly.
really exercise. But when you look at these, Toshween's is so clean. It's so beautifully clean. Like, whoa, you know, versus mine is messy, and I'm always going to be somewhat messy, and I like it that way. So this color exercise that I'm working on here with the circles is how we can translate these ways that we make colors and this language that we're creating into actual moments. And it's okay if this is a confusing or hard translation for some people. This is the part that it's like something happens and you suddenly click, and that's how you know or suddenly understand that, right? So I did my first layer and I'm working on second layers. I can see the way that the second layer, even here, I did a second cool layer, because remember the moment that we're talking about is busting my butt in the food cart when it was like 1,000,000,000 degrees. My coworker was sweating embarrassingly profusive. Like it was a rough go for the poor guy. And he has to make all the food. I just have to deal with the people. This one down here, this one I've gone with a darker orange up on as the second layer. And this one I'm actually going to go with this like lighter orange, just to see like when we're talking about heat, or we're talking about, you know, the experience of feeling stressed or bold, what is the difference between a dark orange on top of a red versus a light orange? This is why I like to work several at a time. And this one, which I'll have to take a picture of this one because it's really beautiful. The opera pink or sunset didn't cover the whole circle. Like part of this is just letting the color do its thing, learning an intuitive relationship with it. Okay. Then I'm going to let this second layer, this row right here is orange. I'm actually going to add some purples to it, but purples that fall in the warmer category. Because for me, purple over top of orange and orange over top of purple often feels like fire, you know, which is what it felt like. I mean, one of the things was that our grill kept kind of lighting on fire today. And that was a real experience. What a funny little life, right? How our experiences, even just like getting up in the morning, can feel a certain way. I used to do my circles at night because that's when I like to work in my sketchbook, and I would just kind of reflect, really, like, as you saw, that the second week that I was doing them was during the wildfires, and it was a really hard time in Oregon.
Yeah.
Where I live is supposed to be the place that people go to get away from that kind of stuff, you know, where the ocean meets the river, and it was really hard. Weird filters on our fans and stuff. Okay, so now I want something really special on top of my favorite color up here. I'm actually going to be really boring and do brown. I'm going to do brown. Again, right? This is supposed to be leadership, but I don't know about that. Poppycock.
It depends on the leader.
Okay. And then I'm going to let these dry and I'll take a picture of them with their second layer. Some of them still have water sitting on top of them, which is kind of nice. And then I'm going to show you how I do my third layer with the cools, because I think that's an important thing to tell you guys about. We're going to let these dry. So remember, this starts with the write 10 moments from your day. And then you're going to start, and as you're thinking about those moments, you can either choose one moment or you can choose, you know, one circle per moment. Start to consider how color becomes the storyteller of that moment. Sorry, I'm hoping this dries faster than it is. Some of them are drying pretty fast. All right. Sometimes when I'm working on these and I have spots where the water's pooling up, I like to move it back into the watercolor slowly as it's drying, because it kind of creates these secondary marks, which is always really quite enjoyable. This one's really interesting, the way that the orange over top of the red has really come out, and the purple addition. And this brown one, the brown has been soaked up almost entirely into the orange, which has been really nice. It gives it a more developed layer as well. I'm doing circles. I know. I need my heat gun for my circles. Okay, now I'm gonna blot this one. So here's how, when I really want to add a new temperature that could potentially make it into mud on these circles that I do it. I actually blot it usually, do a kind of a reductionist thing, leave a little bit of the halo of the original one like this. And then, you know, this is when I refer to my color chart and I think to myself, well, this is super kind of orangey yellow, according to my color chart, not the ugly one that I made, but my nice one. Where is going to be like a color that has the most impact? So I'm going to choose one of my blue colors. I actually have like every blue in the rainbow in the world, because for some reason one of my watercolor sets was just different shades of blue. And then I'm going to add it in to the part that I blotted out, so that it's surrounded really by dry pigment. And this is how I work it with watercolors. It allows a thin layer over some parts of it, because we still kind of want those halos and those interests. And we'll let that dry. So if you feel like you want to add a color, you want to do something that's orange and blue because it's speaking to the story that your circle is trying to tell you, you can. You just have to be very careful about it. I'll add blue to this one too. Sometimes it's going to mix in and sometimes it's just going to sit on top. We'll let these dry so that you guys can see them. Okay. Now I'm going to add, I only did the third layer on some of these, but I'm going to send you all a picture of them all now, even though they're wet. This was always my favorite thing. I did it at night and I came in the next morning to see what they look like. How different were they? Okay.
Nice.
Oh.
I actually have to leave early today. I'm
Enjoy.
so sorry.
Oh,
I actually have a face-to-face meeting function at 5 o'clock. It seems silly, but
yeah,
that's what
I
it
guess
is.
so. We're getting back towards that. It's weird to get used to it again, huh?
I know.
Well,
Thank you.
thank
Sorry
you.
to jump. Bye.
Bye, Marcel.
Bye.
I can't wait for these to dry. They're actually going to be really nice. Okay. When you guys start getting somewhere in your circles, I know we're doing the circles again, but hopefully this time they're a little more developed because you've had a little more experience, and we're going off of our lovely color wheel that we have. We have some better decisions to make for ourselves with information in front of us. Okay. Taking advantage of the fancy light. So, yeah. I like that the one on the bottom, the green one. It's really nice.
Are you talking to me?
Leslie?
Was that we?
Well, yes, I am. Sorry.
Okay,
I'm still a child learning how to use WhatsApp.
that's all right.
Ooh, they're
I never know if
strong.
I'm muted or not. Well, I just was like had a chaotic day, and I was also having a chaotic time with these greens. So
So
I always have had a trouble mixing colors. Even I've been painting for 40 freaking years, right? And I just like it out of the tube, especially I'm just green. It drives me crazy.
Well, you can't find a green out of the tube that's going to make you happy. That's the problem.
You can't, yeah.
No.
oh my
You're
God,
forced to mix them.
Jeannie,
I love these.
love these little circles because they remind me very much of the Joseph Albers stuff that we talked about last time, and we're gonna address a little bit of the Joseph Albers stuff this time, in our last couple of minutes, not right now, but I love them. So I shared with you guys the way that I wrote down the moments or the things that I was thinking about. In theory, you're like naming the color, you're naming the experience. And you can see how I played with different colors together. I love the lungs one. I really feel like it was descriptive of those moments that it felt like then that my like lungs were on fire and that like smoke was almost burning them, and I feel like that one in particular really expresses that well. These ones are drying out very nicely. This one, ironically, the one with that weird blue blotch in the middle of the red one is really looking like how my day felt today. And it's
And
because
what would that be? Can you put that into words or can you only put it in colors?
I can put it into words. I mean, there is a darkness or a difficulty that the darkness represents that came from being overheated and, you know, working. And don't get me wrong, I work with a great guy.
Yeah.
It's a fun environment. I only do it to help my friend. So, you know, there are lots of positives. Even when it's hard, it's still fun and hilarious. He's like the funniest guy I know. But it's still a thing, right? Still hard. You want to make people happy.
For many years, I bartended while painting
Ah,
to support my bartending. I thought it was really important that, you know, like I liked the balance of being out.
that was actually one of the reasons I got started was during the pandemic. I wasn't getting enough contact, I think.
Yeah. I get it completely. It's just a completely different energy and it feeds the painting and it feeds
Yeah.
the art in a nice way. Just a nice little shift. You know,
I
it's
just
like a
spend
nice
so
little
much time right now, especially on the administrative side of art, that I
shift.
needed,
Oh, yeah.
you know,
I get you.
yeah, it wasn't related at all. I never learned to bartend. I kind of wish I had. I would have really enjoyed that, I think. But you know, everybody's
One
got.
could argue I never really did either. I don't think I was ever a really good bartender, but I didn't make great drinks, but I had the personality
Yeah, for sure.
to be a bartender.
That's funny to me because I could see you as a bartender.
Yeah, I really liked it. It was a lot of fun. I mean, I couldn't do it now. It's such hard work. There definitely comes a time where you're like, okay, I can't physically keep doing that, but I understand it, the kind
Yeah,
of balance that it gives life, right? Like
yeah.
just to have something different
That's
to
something else to
do.
pull in too, though. I mean, that's you got to have experiences in life to make art about.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think about that often. Um, Abstract art, especially the type of work that I do, is a reflection. It's an internal process, and sometimes it just makes you have to make room for it. You know, set aside that intentional time. Social media is never the answer.
Yeah.
Let me look at my cheat sheet a little bit. Cheat sheet. Okay. So we're at about half an hour left. So I'm going to talk us through our last exercise today. This exercise is going to take a little bit longer for you. It's meant to take a little bit longer. So hold on, like while I get in. Although you guys should see these circles, they're so stupid. They look so good. I could probably just spend hours making circles. So if you guys remember, we talked about Joseph Albers last week, and we talked about just him as a painter. Here's how I want you to take all of this together and represent it. Joseph Albers spent his whole life studying color. And we talked about last time how I mentioned that what Joseph Albers was teaching us essentially is that color is deceitful. That was his big thing. Okay, that everybody sees color differently, and that color's relationships to itself made it look different. What he means by deceitful is if you look at the front of his interaction of color book on the right, you will see two different exercises. The top square, which is the blue, purple, and orange, that mirrors the bottom square, which is orange, yellow, and orange again. Okay, he's got the same composition, but flipped for the cover of the book. And that center square is the thing you want to pay attention to. That center square is the exact same color. What he's teaching us is we see it in the bottom composition, and that center square looks a little darker brown, and it looks a little muddier, and it looks like it's a different shade than the square that's at the top that feels really fresh and clean.
Yes.
Orange on top of that light blue. It looks completely different than that orange looks on top of orange. Okay. So he did this process, as you can see on the left, in studies. And these are some of his studies. He did 4 squares, and he would alternate the squares. So we're going to do studies with our new colors that we've created for our color wheels. And we're going to do studies like this student of mine did studies. Okay. I want you to start with just 2 instead of 4 or 3, because that's a lot. And here's how the recipe that I want you to work. Find a composition that you like. Even, like the top left 3 are a really good, easy way to do this. You're going to take 3 colors. And your first study is going to be, you're only changing out 1 color. So they're comparative studies, okay? So say I draw on my little thing a square, which I would use a ruler if I was doing this in real life because I'm anal retentive. I draw a line, and then I'm going to draw another square in here. I'm just going to keep it super simple. I'm going to do 2 paintings side by side. Often you saw that I do them on full pieces of paper. We're going to do the same composition, right? We're going to change out 1 part. So either these 2 colors are the same, and this is the color that's different, or this color is the same and one of these 2 colors changes. Do you see what I'm saying? You probably can't see my, hold on. Let me help everyone out. Bye. Thank you. Okay, there we go. So much nicer. Okay. I drew little mini basketball courts and I didn't even mean to. So find a composition that you like. And then what you're going to do is you're going to figure out what makes different colors change. And so I'm going to use this same color. I often do this one with paper or watercolors so that I can keep the colors controlled as much as possible in kind of the same, so that they're the same color, so that I know that it's not my mixing that's creating the change in color. You can do it with color pencil, just something that you can, that you try to be as consistent as possible. And then, so you're going to choose color palettes where 1 color changes out. Does that make sense to people? Awesome. I'm going to take silence as a yes. And that is what we're going to spend our last half an hour working on. This one takes a little bit more time. And you're going to find that once you do it one time and you get one result, you're like, well, what happens if I do it a second time and I get a different result? Oh. Negativo. This is why I do it with paper. Okay. Enjoy, Jeannie. I'm going to leave this up here in case you guys need some good compositional ideas for yours. And then you can share the pictures in the WhatsApp app, or you can keep them to yourself. Oh yeah, I like the development of your circles, Les.
Oh, thank you.
Okay. Next week, we're going to be talking about abstract art as a language. So we're going to be doing a lot more of, we'll do some mark making, and then we'll do some exercises where we're going to develop color palettes and then create small paintings with them. So it'll be kind of the culmination of everything we've already been doing. Sorry for the sound of my dogs eating.
I wondered what that was.
5 o'clock is their feeding time, and so you can hear
Yep.
their little bell. One of our dogs also is a really slow eater, so it's even more like, you know, come on, come on. And that's funny. Now I gotta. Hmm.
Completely charming. I love those sounds.
The little silliness
It's
of
so cute.
snacks.
It's so cute.
It's because they have those big, you know, big metal tags. Silliness. You know, I wish you guys could see the hooligans hanging out in my studio.
Ah,
Whatever.
ah,
That's a good word. Hooligans.
and whatever.
I know. Oh, I'm letting mine dry. They're very interesting to me. I haven't done this in watercolor. Oh my God. Look how brilliant and bold these colors are coming through now. My colors are looking so good on my little circles. It's interesting how they dry up. Oh wait, this one, the one I'm dying for, it won't dry up. It's like, likes to keep me waiting. Jerk.
Oh, what's wrong?
I really thought that what I was looking for was closer, but it was not. Okay. Now,
Oh, Tashween just sent in her finished color wheel. Nice. And circles. About the
oh yeah, look at you go.
Whoa, that's so pretty.
Fun.
Beautiful. It is addictive. I actually even today ordered a new color book, a new color workbook, hoping to find, you know, a new perspective, a relationship I'm always working with. The show in our art gallery next month is all about color too, so I'm excited about that one.
Would you mind recapping what we're working on right now? Since I'm a little behind.
Yes. Yeah, no problem. I mean, you have a stellar color wheel, so you were rocking it hard. We're doing the Joseph Albers exercise where we're creating one composition, basic composition that takes three colors, three geometric shapes that create three colors, and then creating two side-by-side ones for ourselves to see how the colors change and look different. In between, we did the circle exercise where you wrote down 10 moments from your day and then created a color swatch that was reflective of those. Does that sound good? Gotcha. Great. I create the largest messes for myself. Like, seriously. I'm gonna try this a little more like I am a grown-up painter. You know?
How many times have I said that? That is a very true.
Right? Like I'm just gonna do it this time just to see, you know. Using guides that actually like make things look the same.
Is that somebody hitting clay?
Perhaps somebody hitting play. Sorry, everybody. That's called.
Great. It's very sort of hypnotic. I was just.
It's definitely a multi-use space, right? Sorry, folks.
That's cool. Don't worry.
No, it's fine. It's not
It's kind of
bothering me.
neat. It's kind of neat. It's just I was just wondering.
Yeah, Audrey had an appointment, so she's just getting back to the studio to start work. You know.
Hey, Audrey, beautiful plates. I saw some pictures. So pretty.
One of the plate pictures. I sent her the plate picture you sent me that was so my partner who shares my studio just finished a huge order for a new hotel that's going in here. And she did all this custom dinnerware for it. And the photos that came out of the custom dinnerware were miraculous.
Outstanding. Yeah.
Outstanding.
But the work is, because the work is so beautiful.
It is so beautiful.
Very beautiful.
The opposite of, I mean, my work is beautiful, but the opposite in detail and obsessive compulsiveness than mine. Hers is all about being exact and the same. Mine's like, I just wanted to feel like me. You have what?
I have a cousin who's a chef. He owns his own restaurant. And I took him to a painting class once, and I have never seen anybody who was like more exacting about exactly how it had to look. And he was like very
Audrey's color settings are exact. Mm-hmm. Like I very seriously considered bringing some of her color work because she's like Joseph Albers, you know, and in ceramics. And actually this is really kind of some part of how I ended up with these experiences where I spend just hours working on some of these things. In ceramics, you test everything.
Right.
You always test it, even if it's going to take an extra week or two before you do it. You need to know what it's going to do, and especially with glazes and stuff like that, and how glazes react to clay. And I was realizing for myself that I wasn't spending enough time kind of experimenting with or testing, so to say, like doing things like this, where it's like, what happens when you change out one particular part of something, and how does that affect the other parts? And that has actually really helped to my artwork and helped to my abstract work, because then I'm going into everything with a lot of intention. I'm choosing color schemes in advance and I have pre-existing knowledge of what's going to happen. And intuitive painting is important and it's beautiful, and it has a place. But I was just looking for something that was the next level. And following in Audrey's little example was a really helpful thing for me. It's true. Oh my gosh, they're blushing now.
Aw.
We should, we have to constantly learn from each other, right?
Yeah. And it's good to be with somebody who's not the same as you.
Right.
Because
working
then
on things. Yep.
then you kind of like bounce off each other.
And
So
there's
Leslie, don't worry about Mike not liking your music.
He doesn't like pickled things either.
There you go.
That's cause for breakup, man.
That's it. It's over. Done.
That's all right. You can't have it all, right?
No, not everything. That is true.
No, he's great.
He is.
He's
awesome.
actually turned me on to a lot of music. I'm just like stuck in 70s pop, I can't. And then I'm like, oh, like if it wasn't for my younger friends, I'd probably never listen to any new music. I have a friend in Montana who sends me a mixtape. He does it for a lot of friends. Works on the radio part-time, and he sends me all kinds of music. He does one every season. He sends them out to a bunch of
cute. How do I make friends with him?
Yeah, right.
You know who, it's so funny. Audrey's mom is really always up on the new music. She likes she listens to all kinds of different shows about it, and she's constantly telling us about new music. It's really quite adorable. My mom listens to the same music she's listened to my whole life. So it's weird because Audrey's mom is, 15 or 16 years older than my mom. And but she's out there with the new stuff. I think she's going to a concert with us. Is she going to Tune Yards? Yeah. This one's really interesting to me because, like I said, I don't typically do this one in paint. I do it with paper because it's more exact.
Yeah.
But
color pencil is kind of hard. These are Prismacolor sticks. Sometimes I think the white that shows through is kind of off-putting, but all those greens are the same on there. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I do it in colored pencil. I find myself with colored pencil struggling with the marks that it makes.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it's not saturated enough. It's too much white that shows through. But you can see it on, I don't know if you're looking at the WhatsApp, but.
I have it on my phone.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Because I was being lazy and not mixing paint.
But here's the thing, even about not mixing paint, we still develop languages.
Yeah.
I still have specific shades of specific brands that I use, right? Mm-hmm. I have specific color palettes that I use. In my actual work, I use fluorescent red a lot. And fluorescent red is a color that's very different brand to brand.
Yeah.
And it has taken, over the past 10 years, me being very, particular and meticulous to find the brands that have fluorescent red that I really like. Mm-hmm. So it's the same process. It's just, you have a little more control. Like I said, I have that friend who's excellent at creating the same exact colors all of the time. I don't even know how she does it.
See, and even the blue against the white there looks so different against the red.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm telling you, this becomes addictive.
Yeah.
You're like, wait a second, wait, what? It's been nice for me because this is a really simplified way to do something in comparison to my work. My work is very, it has a lot of movement. You know, this is a sketch that I have that I was working on. It's got a lot of movement. It's got a lot of busyness in it.
Yeah.
So it's nice to come down to this fundamental that is just about geometric shapes, and just about, you know, and I'm interested this coral color that I created.
Mm-hmm.
It's so beautiful with this light blue.
It
And
is.
I don't know that I would have put those two together.
Yeah.
Right. No, like realistically, this is an orange with white in it, and this is a blue with white in it.
Yeah.
Right. That's what made those tones. It's interesting. This one's green with black in it.
Okay.
So it's obviously much darker. It's a darker value, but it's even interesting compared to the red and how it almost makes this red look like it's darker on this side.
Yeah.
than
I was
this.
just gonna say that. Yeah.
Yeah, this is how we play with this. You know, I'm still working, and this is what I said, I'm being more intentional about my paintings, where I am starting with a process like this, or I'm starting with those color circles and pulling those colors and then working into a composition from those colors.
Right.
Trying to take those steps of like, okay, so I see here that I do like the way that this dark green and this red plays together, and this, you know, the coral and this blue play together, and I might take them on to the next phase, right? The next phase.
I do like it because one can get in a color rut.
Yeah.
And I feel like this moves you out of the color rut.
That's
Like,
actually why I bought the 1500 color recipe book.
right.
Oh.
And like, it's like beautiful, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a place that I can go to and I can be like, you know, I kind of am in a color rut, or sometimes I feel like, you know, you want a green, but you don't know what green. And green in particular, do not, sorry, there's a dog walking by. Green in particular can be
Tough.
so different from shade to
Yeah.
shade, so different. And it can totally change the way of the feeling of a painting. And so this is helpful to me. And then it's interesting because then you can look at it and you be like, this one, oh, I like this green, so to say. And it's like, oh, lemon yellow, cadmium yellow, and phthalo blue. Like, it even puts two yellows in there.
Yeah.
Right.
You don't think to yourself, oh, I'm going to make green with two different yellows. So even the yellow page is great because it's all different shades of yellow, but it's different mixes of yellows. Cadmium yellow and Naples yellow, you know, white being added sometimes, different water levels. It's an amazing book. I have yet to get really good at it, but I will someday.
Ah,
This book actually encouraged me to start using burnt umber as a color picker when I had not previously even considered that. Even though I know like every painting class teaches you to use burnt umber, I definitely wasn't using a lot, and it has been revolutionary for some of my color choices and like off colors that I've created for myself. So I have
nice.
all of swatches. Like I said, I like those colors out of the tube that are particular brands and particular shades, and then I create secondary colors of them, those brands, those shades mixed with other pre-mixed colors. And then I have color swatches, and sometimes I'll use those in my paintings, which is really fun too.
Oh, nice. Nina, Tashween, would love to see what you guys are working on. I am actually just working on a painting, but it's very colorful.
Oh,
I have to say I've been kind of influenced by your color discussions. I'm definitely picking colors I wouldn't normally pick.
Hey, that I like to hear that. Oh, I
Yeah.
love this one. Yeah, with the white underneath colored pencil, it can be hard, but you can still
Yeah.
see where that completely different with the different shades of blue. Like the one on the right looks considerably darker than the one on the left.
Yeah. And I tried to make them, I went over them both the same way, the same time. So
Yeah, it's I mean, obviously Joseph Albers built an entire career out of this exploration. And his work is really beautiful. It's really funny how you can love an artist's work, and I actually saw a collection of his books that are super rare for like $300 recently,
That's not bad, really.
right? And I
Yeah.
actually thought to myself, oh my God, I really love his work. And I think I would pay that for
I
those.
would-
Like,
Yeah.
How many books are in the collection?
like it's like it has a box set, and it's
Yeah.
art books that have the full like size print and everything. I think I had 3 or 4 books, so it wasn't a small amount of books. And his work is no
Yeah.
longer available. Like you
Yeah.
have to get used things. So they were used and stuff, but definitely seriously considered it because it just feels so. I mean, I love Rothko's work,
Yeah,
but for
me
some
too.
reason, the simplicity of Albert's work speaks to me differently.
Yeah.
I haven't actually seen Rothko's work live yet. And I look forward
Oh, yeah. Well, he had it was years ago. They had a big exhibit at the art museum. I bet you, it must probably at least 25 or 30 years ago. You probably weren't born yet. But I remember my mother took me.
40 this year, thank you.
Oh, you can. I just think everyone is 30. That was a good thing about my mom. She took me to so many gallery openings and museum. My mother, when she first came to Portland, used to go to Attic Gallery when what's her name had it up in her actual attic of her home.
Oh my God, that's cool.
Yeah, so I was lucky that way. So
My mom actually, didn't come into to an interest in art until after I was a professional artist.
yeah.
So like I definitely didn't have that. I came to art really late though. I didn't even start painting until I was 30. Which
Me too.
yeah, and and now it's completely different, right? Oh my gosh, you should see these two. Look, the watercolor one that I did.
Wow.
Look at that. It looks so beautiful, just like this.
Mm-hmm.
I like that blue with that. I like that blue with that red.
Yeah, isn't that interesting?
Mm-hmm. All right, now I'm gonna send you a picture of what I did because I think it's weirdly like reflective of what you guys are working on. I'm trying to get my cars better.
Yeah, so you were telling me.
Yeah, so now here's the colors I kind of laid together on this piece.
Ooh.
Yeah, I was very influenced by what you were talking about. Absolutely. There is no question. I was thinking about how to combine the colors. I know it's weird, but
Oh my gosh, I love it. I really like that.
it's weirdly good. Here's another one that's in kind of a partial stage. Part of it is this is what I was working on. Yeah, it's interesting.
Oh yeah. I love it, Toshween. Look how different like.
Oh, those are great.
It's so interesting the way that color can change. Even like looking at Leah's car paintings together makes different colors pop in each of the paintings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, different colors, like if you put them in different combinations, they do entirely different things.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of blowing my mind right now, actually. Wow. I'm going to be thinking about this.
I love it.
I hope you guys are enjoying it. Tashween, that's cool. Look at how that like blue, that beautiful sort of turquoise blue completely disappears next to the green. And the red, and how it totally pops out when you switch to the green and the blue.
Really fascinating.
Ooh, Jesus, Leslie. Oh, Nina, these are awesome.
That was that piece. I put a bunch of white. I bought some brayers and took a brayer over that. It has so much color and so much going on, but it was a really good practice getting used to like what does what on the paper. I love it. It's super
really
bold.
beautiful.
So, Oh, thanks. And I changed the orientation. I didn't like it landscape, so I turned it upside down. So yeah, I liked it better after I put the white over it.
Oh my God, you guys, it's absolutely 5:30 or 5:30 or 8:30 or wherever you are. Like it's,
Wow.
we've
Yeah.
got to the end of class. That was amazing. That went fast.
Yeah.
I will see.
Thank you, everyone. Oh, and
Yeah.
that's how it started out right there. That was cut out paper.
I love it. I'm
This is
so
so
in.
freaking rad.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Nina, these
God,
were
that's
great.
Paper.
Yeah, that's how it started.
Oh my gosh, so good. And look how
It
they
looks a little Alexander Calder
lost
there, that
everything.
first one.
It does.
Yeah.
I'm into both of them.
Yeah, I